Hello, everyone. Shannon Gardner here today. I've got Jasmin Sturm with me today, and we're going to talk about a couple different topics today. One of them is going to be entities, entity release, and connecting to our higher self. So I have Jasmin here, and I'm going to allow Jasmin to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into SCHH, what other
Sure.
modalities you do, because you do other healing modalities as well, which are really beautiful. And you can tell us a little bit how you got into SCHH, a little bit
Awesome.
about your awakening, if you would like to as well, and where people can find you.
Awesome. Hi, Shannon. Lovely to
Hi,
talk to you.
you too.
So we've got a bit in common because you're training to be a naturopath and I've been a naturopath since late 90s. I started training
Wow,
in 95
that's
or
awesome.
94. Yeah, it was a long time ago. Anyway, so I'm in New Zealand and I live off grid, about an hour north of Auckland. And we're developing a permaculture property, which is really awesome because I'm so connected to the land, which I really love.
Yeah, that's
And
beautiful.
we do run out of power sometimes, though. So there are downsides to doing that when you're doing a Zoom with people. So how I found out about or came in contact with Soul Centre Healing Hypnosis is. Just a little bit of history is when I'm really into numbers. And when I turned 25, I was like, oh, my birthday's the 25th. There's something about this. There's a signpost. And so that's when I started my spiritual journey. I don't know, I think before we're born, we put those little markers in about to wake us up or, signposts. And so I got into numerology and meditation and channeling and used to go to a group every Friday night, which I loved. And then I didn't keep so intensely involved in it for the whole time because I had children and, lots of other stuff was going on. But I did explore all things spiritual. Like I did a bit of Reiki and read lots of books and did lots of workshops, small workshops. But then being a naturopath, I loved, but I actually had originally wanted to be a spiritual healer. But I thought, no, I need to do something that was a bit more acceptable. Not that naturopathy was particularly acceptable then, but it felt like it at the time. Yeah, and so I had another one of those markers when a couple of years ago in 2020 when the world changed. And I remember when it first came to New Zealand and the whole situation where we had to stay indoors. And I was walking down my stairs to where we live in our shed, and it just came to me, this is why you're here. And since then, I just really felt driven that, this is what I'm here for. So why get distracted and get, thrown around so much with what's going on, but just know that this is what I'm here for. And it's given me a really good anchor, actually. And so I started looking at everything that I could find online. And I loved hypnotherapy because I'd read some books like In Between Lives and a few other ones, can't even remember the names right now. But and then I came upon Laura doing SCHH, and it just made me feel good and inspired. And I believe we need to feel that too, as much as we can to keep our vibration up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then I saw she was doing the course here, or, at a time that would suit us in New Zealand and Australia, which is when you were doing that one as well. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
it's
we
been
were,
a
weren't
year
we?
ago.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. It's like our 1 year anniversary coming up. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good.
Such
Yeah.
a lot has changed.
Sorry,
I was
Jasmine.
just going to say where to find me. I chose to call my business name Soul Alchemy with Jasmin because I just feel like it's taking it that, you're going into your soul. So
It's a
on
great name.
YouTube and Instagram. Thank you. Yeah. So, and then are you going to put the website in a link? Because it's part of my naturopathic website.
Yeah.
So it's under Walk with Naturopath. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put the links below in the comments so everyone can find you or whatever. So that would be good.
Awesome.
I think a lot of people got called into their calling in 2020. What
Totally.
happened sort of flipped the switch for a lot of healers and people who are meant to be doing this line of work. Absolutely. I found Laura as well on YouTube and started listening to her sessions that she was transcribing, and they just really resonated with me, what she was saying. And it was helping me get through a particular time in that time period. So yeah, same with me. I saw her course, and I had been told previously, like, I don't know, a year and a bit before that, that I was going to get into spiritual work. And I thought, well, I'm taking naturopathy, you know, and it's funny because things kept happening while I was studying naturopathy. Like my brand new computer would just die right before an exam or before these things were happening. Like I could tell that, you know, the universe was trying to block me from even studying naturopathy for some reason. I felt like that throughout the whole time while I've been studying it, but I've been pushing through because I do really want to learn the knowledge for my family and to treat family members and to have that knowledge myself as well. So
yeah,
when I got told that message, I thought, well, I have no idea what that could end up being. Besides meditation, I couldn't really think of anything. But I had a past life regression session a few years back with a lady here, and I loved it. And I thought, wow, this is great. And then after listening to some of Laura Whitworth's videos online, I was having a conversation with my husband one day, and I just thought, it just came out, and I just said, you know, if I had to do one, you know, profession for the rest of my life and work on clients, I think it would be hypnosis, like past life regression, because I could just do that all the time and it would just feel so rewarding. And that's one of the things I love about it, is just how much we get out of it. It's not just the client getting things out of it. It's, you know, both of us, the practitioner and the client, both get.
Oh, absolutely. It's such an honor to be going on these journeys with people, I find, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Some really interesting things. And it makes you think as well, like helps with your own spiritual journey, I think, as a practitioner, to think about, gets you thinking, you know, when you've got new things that come up in sessions, something new that you haven't seen before, sometimes it gets thinking about, you know. So
I was actually inspired that way too, because I go to an astrologer or online regularly, and she had done a reading for me, and she said, she picked a card at the end, and she said, oh, you're going to be learning more. And I was like, no, I don't want to learn anymore. I've done enough. I've done enough. And then the seed went in, and then I saw that, and I was like, I have to do it. I have to do it. And
it's like, it feels like a calling, like you have to do it, and you just have to go about what you feel your calling is. And it's beautiful, isn't it? Because there's so many people still searching for their calling. And so, it's just a beautiful thing when you find what it is you're meant to do.
Oh, it's exciting. You want to work all the time.
Absolutely.
In some ways. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about entities. So I just wanted to talk about, so my, if you're putting this on, if Jasmin's going to put this on her YouTube channel as well. So my website is just wisehealer.love. So we'll put that in the comments below too. So I'm just naturopathy student and SCHH practitioner, and I took QHHT as well. So I do that as well for clients as well who don't necessarily if someone's clear, they might not have any entities to release, or who don't want to do that part of the session, I can do QHHT as well. And in SEHH, we can do that as well. You can just do the past life section as well. But the reason why SEHH has the entity release, just for our viewers, and that is one aspect of how it differs from other modalities like QHHT and BHQ and what other ones are out there. Because what we find sometimes is that if you just do the past life regression part of the session, that some clients have a really hard time going under and entering the theta state. And so that could be because of entities that are attached that are blocking the person from being able to enter into the theta state. Of course, there's other factors like if the client is on medication or has a certain mental disorder as well. There's other factors as well, but the entities is a really big one. And not only does it affect people trying to get into the theta state, it also, a lot of these entities are making people ill. So a lot of people associate, being ill with diet and nutrition, which it is as well. We have our physical body and we have our soul as well. And so health doesn't just, illness doesn't just come from being in poor physical health. It can come from spirits and
absolutely
and that sort of well. And what's interesting about that, and you probably learned this in naturopathy as well, because this is where I had learned a lot about this, is that back in the day, before colonization, a lot of these tribal people and cultures actually believed that their illness was caused purely, like solely by spiritual reasons. And it makes sense because they would have been eating such clean diets at the time, like they're not going through any drive-through or takeaway and stuff. So I mean, how could they, and it makes sense, like how could they have thought that illness was caused by what they were eating if they were eating from the land and eating so naturally? I thought it kind of makes sense that they would think that illness maybe was caused.
And plus, they are so much more connected to nature and to everything in those days, in those environments too,
absolutely. So, and then they thought
we've lost.
Exactly. And so for them, illness was a disruption in that somehow, either disruption with their connection with nature, or angering the spirits somehow, for whatever culture they were in that they believed. And so I found that interesting as well.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, so that's a reason why we do entity release in these sessions. One of the things that has come up a lot is I'll start with the first one and then you can tell me some stuff too, just adding to illness is that, in these entity releases, the clients will have a pain, or maybe you have a sore tooth, or you have, there's even been stories, about cancer and other things that people have had that have, after doing entity release and or hypnosis have gone away as well. So that have been causing these things. Yeah, there's I heard recently in some sessions about one entity that was affecting the whole family, going down the line from one person down. And I thought, wow, that's
the whole ancestral lineage thing. I've come across that as well. And even from a partner, like he was, this person's husband was really drank a lot. And so he passed it on to her. So it's just so fascinating, the whole diversity of energies and entities.
Absolutely.
So when I first did the course, I struggled a little bit with the whole entity thing because it's not something I'd been exposed to a lot.
Yeah.
But I Yeah, so I was more tuning into blocked energies, and I think it depends on the person how they feel. Some people if they're really into the whole entity thing, which is so much more available, like all these people are aware of it now because of this whole frequency shift that we're going through. That if we're tuning into the energy that you feel when you're running the white light through them, then when we connect in with what emotion is attached or what color, that's sort of helping people connect with what's going on or what the entity could be.
That's really good. That's a really good point. And that's a good way of like as an alternative way if you didn't
introducing it.
Yeah, that's really good. I struggled with the entity release thing too, because originally I thought I'll just do past life regression and thought it was going to be
so did I.
Dolores Cannon's, QHHT sort of one. And that's what I had had in the past. And I thought, I don't know if I can do this entity release thing at first, but then after I witnessed, in Laura doing it on other clients, I thought, wow, that's amazing. And I feel good about it now because of the clients that we've helped. When you see that you've helped all these clients and getting good feedback from clients, it's like, okay, like it's
same,
like you feel like these entities can't stay attached to people, and why not remove them? Because why not remove them if they're causing these problems to people?
And like when I actually had a session with Laura when I was doing the course, and I sensed the energy, like, so when she starts off, she's scanning the body and putting the white light through, like I was saying before. And I sense this energy saying, now what did we say? But something like, we don't like this, we're resisting, and I could feel that energy was not me. It was other than me. And then she called it up to speak, and it was a snake energy that had been wrapped around my tailbone, and it kept going, which was, and I wasn't scared or anything because I have total faith in the process, and just with Laura's whole process and her confidence, in knowing that it's better to have that entity out of your body.
Absolutely.
And I actually did have so when we went back to when did the entity attach, I actually felt myself, or could see myself or sense skipping along as a child, and when the entity attached and why, because it was to do with an emotion that I was feeling at the time. And I got a lot out of that, because it was, it's just to try and understand these underlying emotions or blocks that we have, or, like I had quite a lot of sadness during my life and anxiety. And I realize now that those entities were actually blocking me from being who I am meant to be. And the other interesting one that from that time was that, because I've had a chronic shoulder pain for a long time, and it was actually, it was a mischievous fairy, and they'd pinned my shoulder and elbow back.
Oh wow!
And I sensed that from when I was playing around when I was, as a child, and that when Laura was taking me through it, and it cleared. But I mean, it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to, all the pain or issues going to go away straight away. We have to keep working on ourselves and filling in replacing it with a new habit.
That's true. And sometimes it can go away temporarily and come back. And it's that's too. So we need to, and that goes with the whole quick fix thing. Like you need to have maintenance of, like the healing process is an ongoing thing. It's not just go in for one session and I'm done, or come see you as a naturopath and get a quick fix and we're done. It's an ongoing process. And it's, Ian said to me, had a good analogy the other day when I was talking with him, about it being like an onion. You're peeling back all the layers of onions, and that's how it is with healing as well. Like
absolutely,
it's an ongoing process. And then there's also maintenance of making sure your cup is overflowing, and because like when you work on clients too, you're having that transfer of energy to them, and their energy is being transferred to you, and it's absolutely important, especially as healers, to keep the maintenance going.
Yeah. Maintenance and protection, and like I've got my Archangel Michael wand, and crystals. Nice. I'm sure you've got lots of crystals and things around you.
I'm always wearing black obsidian.
Good.
Always, because I was getting a lot of psychic attacks at the beginning, like through 2020, because I was speaking out a lot at the time, trying to wake people up, which I'm not really doing anymore. But at the time, I was like, why can't people see what's happening?
As you do.
Like you just gotta take and go, wake up, But so I was getting a lot of psychic attacks from snakes and spiders, like so many. Just having snakes in places where before that, at our property, getting one snake every year.
Oh, so this was actually out there that you were seeing them in the on your property.
Well, interestingly enough, we moved. We moved from one house that we rarely ever, for 6 years, got like one snake, and then which was kind of in town, in like a small country town, but in town. Got one there, and then we sold that house and moved to another house in an estate, like while we were looking for our farm that we had bought, and got one there in a place where you really barely ever would even get a snake. And then we bought this other property, and I went to check it out one night with the kids to see what it was like at nighttime. Ran over a bandy snake on my way there, and then we bought Mulu our farm at Mulu, and it was just, the word Mulu means red-bellied black snake. That's what the name of the place actually means. And it was just every day, like even a couple a day. It was nuts. And I thought, and same with spiders too, just getting so many spiders and thinking, where is this coming from? And so I had to go out and buy some obsidian and things, and I do think it helped a lot, with along with other things.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Psychic attacks.
I look at signs in that way too.
Absolutely.
Something.
So I got a little off topic there.
So that's okay. I was just going to say that. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, and is this the same for you? Like, I've probably had 6 or 7 sessions with different people, students and other, when I was doing my practice ones since my phone's going. Since I started, and I feel like I have cleared a lot. And you reminded me when you said the spiders, we had, there's so many different things that can be attached to people. And I feel like I'm a lot clearer. I've just changed, and I can't really pinpoint exactly how, but I know that through that process of not having these energies, like I was just going to mention about I've had a client, if I can, and then we can ask how you've been feeling since your sessions. I have had someone come to me twice, more just for entity release, because he'd watched something and he really had the sense that he had a lot of entities attached. And we did some really deep work, and it actually turned out that when he'd come in as a child, he got one from his mother, some heavy energy. I just wrote them down. He had one on the top of his forehead, which was confusion, and another one was a big black glue on his throat, which was negativity. And then another one that was here to confuse or to shut him down and block him. And it took a lot of work to actually clean out his whole energy system, because it had been so in there. I mean, he was in his 60s, so it had been so enmeshed with his thought processes and the ways, how he viewed his life. And when we took them out, he said that he actually felt a bit empty, because you have to retrain and fill those spaces in. and rebuild your aura and all of that. But it was awesome actually having those 2 sessions really focused on that, because what I did was I ended up getting a vacuum to clean it, to vacuum it all out, and then a magnet because it had a star. Yeah, it was weird. And yeah, he had like a 5 or 6 pointed star underneath one of those entities. And then it was like, well, it wasn't going. So I thought, okay, let's Archangel Michael come on in and bring a big magnet.
Yeah.
And he really responded well to that. So
that's
definitely
good.
something I'm going to use again.
That's excellent. That's a really good idea. That's really good. And I love how, you know, every practitioner has their own sort of style as well. And
absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's really awesome. And I think that goes along with that peeling of the different onion peels. Like he's come to you and realized that he needs to clear that. And absolutely, he was in his 60s. That's 60 years of attachments, and because it really affects people's personalities. It really can. It can affect your personality. And that I've heard that as well with the emptiness after. That you can, but you can also feel a lot lighter as well. But I think
absolutely,
it just helps to come into yourself and who you're meant to be as a person. And yeah, that's really good. So
have you found that a lot of light workers are?
No, go ahead.
Have you found that a lot of light workers are have been targeted, you know, and had those heavy things to stop them for this? Yeah,
absolutely. I've noticed even in a lot of practitioners and other light workers, things like energetic swords that have been put up to their throat. You know, that there's the energetic sword one I've seen. All kinds of things. Yeah, absolutely. And also that brings up another point about people who are vibrating really high or vibrating in the light, and people who are light workers and healers and that sort of thing, is that you know, entities can attach when you're feeling low or sad or depressed, or when your vibration is low, but they can also attach to your light if you're also vibrating in the light as well. And so I've noticed that in sessions as well. And so an example is I get children attached to me sometimes, and then that have had, you know, traumatic experiences or things like that. And sometimes you can have a soul contract where that's in your soul contract to help children cross over. And those children that I've had attached to me have said that they were attracted to my light. And I've seen that. I'm sure you have in sessions as well, that attach some of the entities, especially Earthbound.
Yeah, definitely.
I was scared, and so I attached to this person because I was attracted to their light and I felt safe with them. And so that brings up the importance of, like we said, with the maintenance for ourselves as healers as well, the maintenance of making sure you're keeping your aura sealed, so that there's sealing up those cracks in your aura.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
so that things can't get in and attach to your light as well.
I think a lot of people may not realize, I certainly didn't, that prior to learning this, that so if someone dies and they're in a particular mood or headspace, you know, that they're in pain or brokenhearted or an alcoholic or a drug addict, that they're going to be attracted to that energetic resonance in someone. So that's how they get into a lot of people, you know, the alcoholics or hospital. So that's why we always ask people a lot of those sort of questions. And I remember an example on that sort of note that, well, it's probably not exactly the same, that someone had cleared a lot of their addictions. It's more about addictions. But because they still had an entity attached, they just went to another addiction.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's why it's so important for people who've got addictions. And that goes back to the whole health thing, doesn't it?
absolutely.
Mm,
Exactly. You know,
yeah.
a lot of the time, even as a naturopath, we know what we should be eating and what we should be doing. And you're right, if you've got an entity
Yeah.
attached or something there, it just makes it
Yeah.
really difficult. And yeah, my mom
So much
took
harder.
herbal medicine when she was younger as well. And she was, curing or treating my uh, grandpa's cancer. And in the end, the cancer was healing, but my grandpa ended up dying really because he lost his spirit. And my mom stopped practicing naturopathy after that because she said, well, I realized in that moment that you can't just treat people with herbs and things, that you need to actually
Mm,
treat their spirit as well. And then
yeah.
I said, well, they're teaching that now in naturopathy. And I think that naturopathy goes really well with spiritual healing as well because of that importance of having to treat people's spiritual health as well as their physical health.
And that's the whole thing. Everyone says you've got to heal your body, mind, and spirit. But then what is the spirit? It sort of just goes,
Exactly.
okay, we're spiritual, but what's the whole spirit thing? So it's really fascinating learning about entities. And I think people don't need to be so cautious or worried about it because the process that we have taking them back to the light is just so beautiful, isn't it?
It is. It's real. It is. And to think that those entities have been trapped here, some of them have been trapped for so long, and to be
Yeah,
able
yeah.
to help them cross over, and then you're helping the entity cross over and be back with their loved ones in the light of source. And then
And
you're
that's
also
helping our whole energy lift. Yeah.
exactly. And then you're also helping the
Mm.
client because the entity is no longer attached to them as well. So you're kind of helping both parties out there as well. So what are
Yeah.
some other types of entities that just to list some different ones for the people watching? Because I certainly
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
before getting into this line of work, I had no idea that it still amazes me when I have new attachments that I haven't had come up in a client session. And I think, oh, wow, I never had that before, and it's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah.
So, what kind of things have you had?
Black goo, which I
Okay.
don't really know where that came from. Like star, like AI, just little AI, which is somewhere in the body and it's usually metal. Um, what else? A lot. I think I've attracted more clients with sort of like um, entities that have been passed down generational or yeah, those sort of things more and
Yeah.
that have stopped them from because I've worked a lot with the trapped emotions I guess, and
Yeah.
people that have that what are they called? Earthbound spirits, definitely.
Yeah. I find the Earthbound
Mm.
Spirit ones can be really interesting to hear their stories and how they ended up dying. And um, like some of them are really interesting. You get ones from World War II, or they've been in
Yeah, yeah,
one of the concentration camps, or there's some really interesting ones, and sad as well. But
yeah.
um so I've had so a client the other day had a bat, a purple bat. I've had some funny ones, not funny
Wow.
ones, but I've had a lot of
Wow.
different ones. So they had
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
bat,
yeah.
a purple bat, come out of the shoulder and neck area. A client the other day had was their feet were cemented in gray cement to hold them back from moving forward.
Yeah.
Um, I had with another healer light worker that I practice on had the armor on them, um, keeping them down that way, a gray cloud over their head.
Yeah, yeah.
What else have I
Mm.
had? For myself, I had something really green and nasty looking, like above me, like here, when I had my session with Laura, and just straight away she just brought in Archangel Michael and to take him away.
Yeah.
Children
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
were, and yeah, that's all I was going to say. Did you want to say? Did you have something to say?
I was just going to, yeah, I've had people with hooks in their organs as well.
Oh wow.
But
Yeah.
I just thought I would share a really interesting session I had. And just to remind everyone that when we, like I said before, I was talking about the white light going through, that they can't hide anywhere in your energetic field, or they'll try and hide behind another entity, and then they'll come up. Like, for example, the guy who I did the 2 sessions with, the second time we'd taken the 2 main ones out, but underneath there was another star behind. And I didn't necessarily go into ask a lot of questions where it came from, because he just wanted to release it. So
Yeah,
that's where
absolutely.
I don't, yeah. But I had one lady, and we got a few entities, and then at the end we did an aura rebuild. And at the end of the aura rebuild, I was putting the white light through her body again. And she said, "Oh, I feel something in my throat, and it feels like something's pressing down on me." And so I got her to tune in on it again. And what color is it? And it was sort of like, I think it was AI, and it was just pressing down on her throat. And then I got Archangel Michael to put his net of white light over it. And when we removed the net, I actually saw it fly out on the video. I saw this grey blob.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
And it was amazing because, and I said, "Oh, it's gone." And
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was such a good confirmation for me of what we were doing, and that it couldn't hide anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is such
and so
beautiful confirmation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because it was physical, and
yeah,
you could
so
actually
I told
it.
her. Oh, I know. And so what I did is I said, I saw it fly out, and when she got the video, she spent ages trying to get a screenshot of it, and she sent me a screenshot of it flying out. It was just a little grey blob. But she said that she felt sore throat, really a lot of pressure on it, and till the next day, and then she felt that it really cleared.
Yeah.
That was my most amazing
wow,
experience.
That's really neat. Yeah, that's really neat. Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else we want to add about the entities that we haven't mentioned that we can think of? I'll just have a look at my list here as well.
About how they can interfere with the internet, which is really interesting.
Yes, that's true too.
Yeah, I had a session on a couple of days ago, and the client's actually, she's a sound healer and an energy healer, and she wasn't. Yeah, so when she came on, we kept dropping off, and I couldn't hear her, and then she couldn't hear me, and then I said to her, it could be an entity. We've got to keep going. And then she did her own. She said, "Oh, I forgot to do my protection this morning." So she did her own protection, which involved like language and different stuff. And I was just waiting. And I did call in Archangel Zadkiel. Yeah. And we had not a problem after that. It was amazing.
Well, I should have done that today for this session, actually, because I do it before every session. I do a little thing before too. And I ask for Zadkiel's help as well. For a stable internet connection, and I've had no problems. But you're right, they some of my clients that have gone, they're like, I don't understand, my computer is just not working, and this never does this, and right before sessions. And absolutely, I think that's a really good point to point out for clients who are possible future clients who are watching this, that it can interfere with the connection, and we just work through it. We're able to work through it. But I think that's a really good point, what you said to your client, like if we could have an entity here and we need to work through it, because you don't want that entity to sabotage and prevent you from getting rid of the entity, because that's what it's trying to do. It knows what's about to go down, probably, and it's like trying to stop that from happening. So that's a really good point as well. So we talked, the other topic we were going to talk about was to move on to higher self. So if we covered, I can't think of anything else with the entities. I'm I might think of something later.
That's no worries.
But moving on to the higher self, and how we talked about how sometimes entity attachments can prevent you from connecting with your higher self and entering into the theta state as well. And that's why the SCHH Soul Centre Healing Hypnosis technique has included, one of the reasons why it's included it in the modality as well. So did you want to talk about
so that goes sorry I interrupted.
That's okay. No, that's okay. I was just gonna leave it. I was gonna pass it on to you if you want to if you have anything like it that you're thinking of chatting about.
So with the higher self, I feel that the higher self section is actually so important. I mean, they all are, all three main sections are, but the higher self really helps people feel deepen that connection and get the answers within, which is what we want to do with clients. We want, or everyone, we want to empower them to actually get their own answers. And, they're not coming to us to get answers to the questions. So for any potential client, you'll basically need to list up to 10 or more questions that you'd like answers to, and they can be anything at all. And I've found some people naturally are really connected to their higher self, and other people struggle. And I think that's partly to do with sort of just not allowing and not trusting. But it's a beautiful space just to allow the answers to come and get that to flow and build up. And actually, a lot of people in their questions, they ask, what is my gift, or what am I meant to be doing now? And I just love the clarity that people can get and the inspiration for where they are, and that actually they're on the right track, and they just need to not be hard on themselves and learn to trust what comes through, or follow their guidance.
Absolutely. The trust thing is really important. Some people who don't trust, you got to trust that voice, coming to you, those messages you're getting, because that is from you, but it's from your higher self, and trusting those messages that are coming through and guiding you is key. Absolutely. And I think adding to that, it's important to note for future clients who are interested in doing hypnosis that, all the healing comes within yourself. We're guiding you into the theta state, and we're guiding you through how the healing process, but ultimately the healing is all, done through yourself. The entities, everything comes from yourself and what you see and the messages that you get, and going into the past life is what you see. And we're just there guiding you and helping you through the process. Anyone can access the theta state with practice, with meditation, and you can get there. But it's really helpful to have a practitioner like us to help you, guide you to get into that state, because I believe, I feel like all the answers are in that theta state that you're in, of the whole world, like the whole universe. I think can be found.
It's all within you. Yeah, totally.
The answers within that theta state, and it's such a beautiful state to be in, to get that guidance for yourself. So
and just having someone actually ask the question and that you say it out loud allows the conversation as well. And that's why this such an awesome modality on Zoom, because I love doing it on Zoom, because you can go back and listen to it and write down what your answers for yourself were. And if I may say, I had a lovely client who's actually a naturopath of 20 years, and she said that at the end she'd written down that, she said, I'm going to take note of what came through from the higher self, because I probably wouldn't have if anyone else had said anything, but because that's my higher self, it really gave him motivation to actually do it.
Isn't that beautiful?
Cool.
That's so beautiful. I love that. And it's so true. Yeah. And I think it is so important to record the session as well, because a lot of sometimes I don't remember. I had a session the other day, and I'm going to, the client has allowed me to post, I'm going to do it in 3 parts, because we went into 3 past lives, because it just, the client I had just flowed really easily. They're a healer themselves, and it just flowed really easily. So we were able to go into 3 different past lives. But in the after chat after the session, I asked if he had only remembered 2 of the past lives out of the 3. And so absolutely, it's good to record them so that they can, because some people don't remember totally what they've had in sessions, or might forget. And sometimes you might want to go back and listen to it a year or 2 later if you've forgotten about it or gotten busy with life as well. And yeah, it's beautiful. It's so good. You're right about them answering their own questions, because they're getting that confirmation from themselves. Like, they could be wondering whether they're meant to move here, move there, or do this, or what path to take, and having that confirmation. And you can't argue with the answers that come out, because that's you, like that's your higher self telling you.
Yeah, absolutely.
The higher self doesn't lie.
I had one other sort of thing to chat about in that regard, is that also with the higher self, well, it may actually come through in, rather than a past life, a quantum or experience. And I've had a couple, and I've listened to lots, where people will actually go into a higher dimensional aspect of themselves.
That's neat.
Like, as an Arcturian, or the lady I had the other day actually went to the Emerald Order, and
that's
so
awesome.
it was amazing. I'm hoping that I can share some of it. She's already said I can talk about it, and the Gold Order and the different dimensions, and it feels like such an honor for people to be holding space for people to really connect with those parts,
Absolutely. I love those sort of sessions, because then you gain knowledge as well too, right? And you're helping them connect with such a beautiful area or dimension like that. Like, how amazing,
the frequency.
And it just helps you realize that, planet Earth is not, this isn't it. There's so much more out there than just what's right in front of us.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. And they're always the high frequency energies. They really inspire the person who is having the session.
Oh yeah.
I had one lady who actually had gone into a past life which was very, very somber, and she was a child locked in a cupboard, and then we went forward a few times, and she when she was 17, so it was all very like, my parents are fighting. It was very unhappy, and she had terrible headaches, and then so we went to the last day of her life. She was a teenager, and she just got in the car and drove and crashed, and looked down at her body, and it was mangled, and then it was quite harsh. And so we went back to the light, and she said, I'm never going back there again. And here she is. So we had to do a bit of clearing, and she had she basically had made a commitment, a vow, that she didn't want to come back, but she was here, and she brought all that negative energy. So that's another thing about entities or energy that you can bring in from a past life. But anyway, I'm really thankful that we went back to see if there was another experience, because she actually went to a higher dimensional part of herself who was working on the planet or overseeing what was going on, and had an awesome experience. So it just rounded it off beautifully.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. It sounds like a really beautiful session. And that points out too, like that we're not just in this together. We've got a whole team of beings out there who are helping us go through whatever we're going through here on Earth. We've got a whole So so I had an interesting session the other day, and I'm going to post a video about it, where my client, one of their past lives was an animal. And I wasn't expecting it. And it was funny. I gotta do a video about it, but they were a penguin.
Oh, wow. Oh, how cool.
And then they said that we got to this place, and there was they said that they could see penguins all around them. And then it was what took me, I wasn't expecting when I said, when I asked him to look down at your feet. And
penguin feet. Oh, gorgeous.
So it kind of took me off guard a little bit. And I thought, where is this going to go? But the session was the lesson from this session was really beautiful. And as we traveled through the life, it was really beautiful to the message that came out. And then I went, oh, now I get it. Now I understand why he went into this life. And it was also really neat to see the death, like the last day and the death, and how they died, and what that feeling was as being an animal, and dying as an animal. And what I got from this past life as being an animal, as a penguin, was that, these animals have the same feelings, as we do as humans. They have these feelings of family. They have children, they look at their family and their children and their community of penguins, and they look at, and how they died, and their feelings, and is just the same as being human. And it's so it's, we're so connected with. It was a really good learning experience for me as well, because we have all these animals that we have around us, and you have some on your property as well. And so it's interesting to see from an animal's point of view, like what they're thinking, how they're going about their day, how they live in their life, how they live through their day. And they have these same emotions and feelings towards their family and their babies and all that. So I thought that was
I think there's going to be more and more vegetarianism as people become more aware, or just treating animals with respect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I found that with having, we've got our Indian runner ducks, and we've got 2 females and 1 male, and we ended up with 12 babies. And they got so annoying because they were so noisy. I was like, I can't wait to get rid of them.
I've heard that with ducks, that they're a bit of work. They can get into the garden and eat your stuff too.
They did. They drove me nuts. And then they'd make so much noise. Anyway, the long and the short of it was I got a homeopath out to assist with all our animals. We've just got chickens, ducks, cat, and a dog. And frogs and stuff. But anyway, and she gave the duck a hormonal thing at one stage, and she said, she's had all her eggs and she's just like a hormonal woman. And which is what I realized. She'd always go barking, and it just made me so much more feel much more compassion for animals, which we've just been so disconnected from. And that totally off track.
No, it totally relates to my penguin session that I was talking to, because that's exactly it. And this session I had with the client being a penguin, it made me think the same thing. Like I feel like I'm going to be a lot more compassionate towards animals after this session, because hearing from a
Yeah.
client and them being and living in the body of an animal and talking about how they feel and what they're doing. And that
Wow.
was, it's, yeah, it just helped me to be more compassionate towards that same thing as well,
I look forward to watching if you put anything up about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was good. I have to admit there was like a couple spots. It was when I asked him to look at his feet and he said they're yellow, webbed and webbed. I almost started laughing, like there was two parts in that one where I had to go like try not to laugh. But I don't get that very often with clients where you try not to laugh or anything. But the only other time was probably with my husband, trying to do a session on him, maybe because we're so close and things that came up in session made me think like, oh, so that's why you are the way you are, or that's why you do that or something. But yeah, that's probably the only time in session where I kind of had to like had a little giggle or whatever, but I didn't giggle out loud. I was able to keep my composure and not let it out. And he had a laugh at the end too, and we had our chat after it because that was the past life he couldn't remember out of the three.
Right.
And I said, do you remember your life as a penguin? And he had and then I told him about the feet thing and how it took me off guard when you said that. I wasn't not off guard, but I wasn't expecting the yellow webbed feet. And he had a chuckle about it too. So it was funny for him as well. But yeah, anyway, I'm just going on about the penguin.
This is the amazing thing about SCHH is that we never know what's going to happen, where we're going to go, what's going to come up. We have to be like prepared for anything, and we don't have any expectations either. It can be there's just anything goes, and whatever happens is perfect for the client is what they need. It might be a penguin, might be a dolphin, a fairy,
Exactly. And I think that's a really good point to point out for clients as well, because I say that to my clients sometimes, like just try not to have too much expectations. Like you have your questions that we'll ask and we'll find out about those. But as far as the session goes and what you end up seeing, you're going to end up seeing what you're meant to see. And your higher self is going to show you what you need to see at this moment and what is significant to you at this moment, or what your higher self feels is important for you to see today in this present time. And I think that's how I go into my sessions whenever I have one with anyone, as well as that as the client is. I just go, whatever is going to come is going to come. It's just, it is. You can't really.
And it's also the layers of the onion, because, for example, the lady who I was just saying who went to that life with as a child and died, and that's like the first layer, because that was a lot of trauma that she had in this life. So you need to deal with that or let it go. Like if you're grieving someone who's died, they might visit you in the garden, or all those sort of things, which is something for another conversation. I think we should talk about traumas.
Yeah, absolutely, because they're preventing people from moving forward. And the onion analogy is perfect as well. And as you peel back those onion layers as well, what's going to happen is that you're going to vibrate at a lighter frequency. You're going to feel lighter. Even your physical body is going to feel lighter, and you're going to radiate just at a higher frequency, because you're getting rid of all those things that are holding you down and preventing you from moving forward, including trauma. So yeah, we'll have another chat about that trauma another day. So
yes, it's a good time to finish, probably.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add either. So Well, thank you, Jasmin. This has
was
been
awesome.
wonderful chatting with you. I always enjoy chatting with you. And
So do I.
yeah,
It's great. It's great. It's awesome. It's awesome to share our experiences with other people as well, just so they can feel a bit more comfortable and confident that what they're going into, because
absolutely.
it is an unknown for a lot of people if you haven't done it. But I just think if you're guided intuitively or have a sense that this is what's going to benefit, then it's definitely something to go for.
So I look forward to having more chats with you
Me too.
in the future.
Awesome.
It's always a pleasure.
Okay.
Thank
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.